Okay, welcome to an episode of the Programmatic Digest podcast. I have Alexa Fulmer on the podcast today. How are you doing, Alexa?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited.
I am so honored you made the time and you were so flexible. I think the way we became friends, because obviously we're almost bestie at this point, but the way we became friends is because I went on, what was it, the Women in Programmatic Network WhatsApp group, and I was like, y'all, ladies, the last few episodes that I've been recording are all men. I love them. All of my guests are fantastic and they're allies of our mission, which is to highlight diversity and share knowledge on the podcast. But like I wanted to be intentional and invite either an audience or a guest that was female, black or brown, or identifies either. And so you were one of the first people that reached out, and I was like, done. Let's just talk. So I appreciate you making the time and then being here. For those who don't know who Alexa is, we'll get to hear a little bit more about who you are in a second here. But our conversation is very dear to my heart. It's one of the reasons why I started what I started. It's first like the lack of that education, blah, blah, blah. But like really the fact that every time I was doing anything working as a programmatic trader for an agency, almost nobody looked like me or sounded like me or could identify with me. And so I think you have a similar journey that we'll get to hear from you. And for everyone that's listening, this is definitely a good one. So be sure to follow, leave a comment, share, do all the things you're supposed to do with the social algorithm these days. So with that said, Alexa, tell us a little bit more about you, because I'm sure you woke up when you were 5 years old and you told your parents, I'm definitely going to work in programmatic media, and this is why, right? Is that how?
Sure. That's exactly what happened. I was actually 10, not 5. So
I got it. Even better.
Well, obviously, Alexa, I am from New Jersey originally and traveled a bit. Actually, I went to college at Penn State, lived in New York right after, and then moved to the UK and now back to the US. And how I got started in programmatic, I kind of just fell upon it. I think a lot of people say that. It just found me.
Yeah.
I actually studied hotel restaurant management as my undergrad. So I worked in hotels for a bit, and then I wanted a bit of a change only because the hours were long. It was pretty exhausting working in hospitality. But a lot of that customer success and customer relationship you can take to media. So I did stand out from recruiters trying to get a job in media or, advertising in general. And I started an internship at Zone Digital. It no longer exists, but it was in London when I was studying international business. And from there, also, I want to move back to New York. Where else can I go? So looked up all the big agencies, reached out to Publicis, applied for a job, and I got that job. So Publicis was my first real job. It was an interesting one. So the role itself was broken up by programmatic and digital. So as a new starter, programmatic was really new, right? People were optimizing based on CPM. Having a CTR campaign was elite, right? During that time. So I got the chance to pick between digital or programmatic, and I chose programmatic. And I think that was 8 years ago now. And from there, I just been working my way up, still on the agency side, which I do love and keep dearly to me. And here I am, fast forward 8 years, talking to you.
Wow, that is so fascinating. So now you work for another independent agency and you moved to the West Coast, right?
Yes, I'm based on the West Coast now.
That's so cool. And what do you think, your transition from, first of all, your story is super unique because I think it's really cool that the agency gave you the choice. I know that some holdcos still do it. Like I was training a entry-level programmatic team. Well, it was digital team at Omnicom, OMD, earlier this year, and they basically had 20 college grad all come, and they taught them different side of the agency. So the holding company owned I don't know, Hearst, Outcomes, whatever they owned. And then each of them had an opportunity to learn from each of those departments. And then based on what was needed and the interviews that they had internally, they could be placed. But I don't know how much of the choice they had. So I think that's really cool that that agency was like, oh yeah, Alexa, just take a pick. And then I wanted to ask you because a lot of us listening are in the same boat where we tripped and fell into. I think before we started recording, you said like programmatic found me.
Yeah, it's true. It just found me, like it stumbled upon me.
That's hilarious. That's the first one that I love it. And so tell us a little bit about maybe your experience. Because originally, I know you're from New Jersey, but originally you're from the Dominican Republic, you said?
My family's from Dominican Republic, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So talk to us about like some of the cultural differences, like as you get into an agency, because I have a lot of personal stories I can tell, but like working for an agency is great to some extent into gathering all your experiences, growing your network, especially at your early ages in your career. Do you think that is still a thing where some agencies are being more intentional with diversity hires, or at least giving the support once you're hired? Have you felt in like, are you okay just sharing an opportunity, like a story where this happened, but it wasn't supposed to, or this is a story that was hard to get through, but like at least I learned from it and now I want people to learn from it?
For sure. Yeah. I think there's different ways to answer this question. I've worked at big agencies. I've also worked at smaller agencies. I do think bigger agencies make more of a conscious effort to push D&I and to have more diversity in terms of hiring, but then also media buying, right? What partners are we working with? Are they women owned? Are they LGBT owned? Are they Black owned, etc.? So I do think there's a high level of being more conscious in those decisions when it comes to bigger agencies, right? Maybe it can be a bit forced, right? In the sense of, oh, we have a checklist. We need this much amount of Black people, this much of Spanish or Middle Eastern, whatever it may be. And I think in the US, it felt a bit more forced. I would go to the office at one of the bigger agencies I worked with, and maybe I saw a few people who looked like me, but not really. It could be, maybe one or two that you'll see someone. And they were never in executive positions.
Oh,
so that's something also to keep in mind. Whereas in the UK, interesting enough, I thought they would be a bit behind in the US. Mm-hmm. But going to the UK, also a big agency, our, head of a lot of the higher levels were men of color, women of color, which was also a beautiful thing to see. I've never really seen that in the US. It's usually, very much predominantly Caucasian, white. So I think being in the US and UK, it was a very different experience. Mm-hmm. And I also remember being in the UK, working with our head of, at the time, I won't say his name, he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
And he was managing a D&I group. Mm-hmm. At the agency that really pushed conversations like these that we're having in more of a panel view, or sitting in a room speaking about name pronunciations, the way someone pronounces your name. How do you, see that working in, corporate? And he also had a newsletter, and he passed down that newsletter to me. Mm-hmm. So I started doing a D&I newsletter probably for a year or so. So really pushing articles that allowed employees and peers look at these articles, like what's going on in D&I, what's going on in media buying, to really push that, diverse background on what's happening in media. And after a year, actually got canceled. They canceled it. I don't think there was enough budget for it. It's really a company, right? Got rid of the newsletter. Maybe enough people weren't viewing it, whatever it may be. And I think that alone made me, whatever I had going forward, I always made sure to do a newsletter or something to push this conversation at every other agency I was at. Going from a bigger agency to a smaller agency, also in the UK, mm-hmm. Very different. I was the only person of color, never mind Hispanic. There's not much of a Hispanic like background in the UK. I don't know how familiar you are with it. So I was the only Spanish person. Also curly hair, I'm still a lighter skin, but didn't see anyone that looked like me, especially in like an exec level, all very much the same as US. I think diversity only goes to a certain level. You see execs and everyone above that, they're never people of color. They're more of the, employees. So I think it's definitely an important conversation to have. But I think every agency I've been at looks so different in terms of diversity.
And I think it's really cool because, first of all, I appreciate, like, if you're a programmatic trader or buyer, here's the truth. Optimizing isn't just about bids and KPI. It's the supply side that holds the key to smarter, efficient, and effective results. That's why me and a special guest are co-hosting a live workshop at the end of October. It's going to be called Sell-Side Programmatic Foundation for Traders and Buyers. It's just about 60 to 90 minutes like all of my workshops. We'll take you under the hood of a publisher ad stack, then show you exactly how to use this intel into your day-to-day optimization. You'll understand a publisher's ad stack in plain English, learn why the same impression can arrive through different paths, discover when to choose open exchange, PMP, or even a curated deal. I'll even leave you with 5 to maybe 8 smart questions every traders and buyers should be asking their supply partners or the publishers that they work with. This isn't like a theory. It's Excel first, it's checklist driven, it's packed with example, hands-on keyboard visualization you can use every day. We're running our first session in October with the option of a micro learning series in January that you'll find out during the workshop. Seats are limited, so grab yours early and let's optimize smarter together. Allies in our industry that are all for exposure, and I think having allies is really important. So I appreciate even something as a newsletter that starts, because I was just attending Ad Week last week. And so I got to support a bunch of my friends, the Unplugged Collective, which is all about female voice uplifting LGBTQIA+. And then I got to attend the Supernova Breakfast at Horizon Media, and then Dominic Venuto. Yeah, Dominic Venuto. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, was sharing something so powerful. I mean, the whole discussion with Zach Rosen was great, but Dominic was talking about how, like, sometimes it always starts with something as little as exposure, like understanding, looking at something different. And even on this podcast, I always claim and I always encourage everyone, like, spend some time. Like, if you know that, like for us, like I was born and raised in West Africa. 95% of the country is Muslim. I'm Roman Catholic, grew up, no religious friction between me and my friends. I went to their holidays. They came to mine. And so, like, this exposure, now when I came to the US and I heard, like, during, a few years ago, not a few years ago, every day almost, like, there's something happening against Muslim communities, or now the Asian communities, or like Latino, like everybody is so mad that Bad Bunny is going to be doing the Super Bowl. I know. Like, first of all, what?
I know.
Excuse me, what? Anyway, it's another happy hour podcast conversation.
That's another podcast.
Right? But like, that's just the exposure of that, even by proximity, right? That was his whole point, is that even if you're by proximity, you hear about it, you get to see the person, that they're human, just not human, just because they are, a different gender, they associate or identify something else, or it doesn't really matter at this point. It's like all about coexisting, but accepting, okay, and dealing with those differences the best way we can. Like, it shouldn't be just a black box. So I really appreciate, like, the effort. But, like, what do you think, because a lot of, let me share this story. I think I shared it on the podcast before, but first of all, there's many stories like this. I'm sure if you're listening or watching this, feel free to share it with me publicly or privately. I'm here. you're not alone, but many times being the only programmatic SME, right? The only programmatic expert on the team, whether I was the one with the most experience at that time, so acting director, or I was the SME, like the programmatic lead for a marketing firm or whatnot. There's a particular instance where I was called to a meeting. My manager was a white guy, right? Really sweet, whatever it was. But he called me into the conversation and he was like, okay, Hélène, can you just attend the meeting and just take notes? Just don't participate. This is a very sticky client or whatever, legacy, whatever the name was. And so I was like, okay, like you're calling your most experienced person to take notes. Cool, whatever. And so I entered the room. It was a conference room that was pre-COVID, y'all. And the whole room, no surprise, men, different ages, but predominantly older. And again, if you're listening to this podcast and you are part of the audience that part of the people I'm describing, we still love you. We still want you to be here. This is my personal experience, right? This is Alexa's personal experience. So my experience was I walked into the conference room, again, only Black girl, only one with a second language, so I have an accent. And so I sit down and I start typing. And I'm honestly the worst person to take notes. First of all, so like you're not even using me for my skill set. So I'm taking notes. It's the typical big client, need a lot of hands-on hand holding. And my manager at that time, he's G-chatting me on Gmail because Slack was an idiot. Again, this is 2017 or 18. And he's asking me all these questions about what he's hearing that I'm hearing in the same room. And I'm answering him. And he gives my answer almost word for word. No credit giving to me. Like this went on almost a full hour, but I didn't know better. Now I will most likely speak up, right? But at that time, big job at an agency, making some money, which I realized was still less compared to my counterpart, my white male counterpart. And after going out of this room and even talking to other people, so maybe in the office, I was one of the only one. I had another Latina on my team. I had many like women friends that were on the team. But after talking to one of a Black woman who was on my team, but living in a different city, and just telling her like, oh, well, manager X called me in to take notes. She laughed. She was like, why you? I'll take good notes. I said, yeah, I know. But then like something made me feel weird because he would ask me all these questions via GChat and then answer and not give me nothing. Like, I don't even know if these people knew I was in the room. Like they didn't know my name or anything. And then she went off. She was like, that's unacceptable. That's almost like, if you were a college student, that would have been plagiarism. She was going off and it made me realize like, oh shit, did I not stand up for myself enough, or how could I avoided this? And she made me instantly feel better about myself. Like, listen, don't feel guilty. It's not a situation that you should have known better. Yes. But like, it's not your fault if your manager put you in a situation where it's not uplifting you. It's not honoring you as a person and your skill set that they're paying you to grow. And therefore, like, yes, you could have spoken up for yourself, but now you know better, right? And I think you should go back and tell him to be on the account. He didn't add me on the account, by the way. He had another white guy who was less experienced. Anyway, different happy hour. But that person that was on my team who led that account. And again, this is just programmatic media buying, right? This is not account management, but you still needed a lead to manage the DSP and the planning. That person still came to me asking me for optimization, for strategy recommendation and stuff. And it's fine. I still help them. But at the end of the day, if you're like in a situation where you just feel this is not right, you should if this comes out of your mouth or your brain, it's for you, like it's yours. And if it was inspired by somebody else, don't be like my manager. Make sure you give them some credit, or you at least go back to the source and really voice it, right? Because nobody should be invited to a team meeting as a senior, at least, and be treated the way I was. That is absolutely no okay. So hopefully nobody else listening and watching this is going through this. And here's something else I like that. I'll give you another example where it was one of our most popular workshop is the optimization bootcamp. Why? Because I am the one walking you through how to look at your data report from any DSP that you downloaded and make changes that are going to turn this data into insight you can use, okay, beyond just a report. I'm realizing that I may have been missing a very foundational steps, which is understanding what that impression, what that even means on the publisher side. That is why I'm inviting you to this workshop I'm hosting at the end of October with this very special guest called the Sell-Side Programmatic Foundation for Traders and Buyers. This is where I'll take you under the hood to really understand the publisher ad stack. Let me tell you, you'll understand the publisher ad stack. You'll learn why the same impression can arrive through different paths. You'll even discover when to choose open exchange versus PMP, even why and when to do curated deals, okay? So this isn't a theory. This is Excel first. This is checklist driven. This is visualization, hands-on keyboards example that you'll be able to use in your day-to-day. So do me a favor and make sure you sign up as soon as possible because early signups have bonuses coming. It was a call with a fellow friend who's dark skinned. He's a black man. He's darker skinned. And he got on a call with a very important client. And the client joked about how dark he looked in Zoom, right? In Zoom. Super inappropriate. He was like, oh, well, that's not okay. And like his manager jumped over him and said, oh, this is just all light and for fun or whatever. He hung up. This is not the worst part.
Sounds like the worst. That's microaggression though, right? So...
Hold up, I'm not done yet. And so I'm not going to give this gentleman away because I want to preserve him. But he literally said that was not the worst part. They go through the whole meeting, pitch the client or whatnot, hang up. The manager calls him and be like, hey, the client feels really bad. They want you to get on a call with you on a one-on-one and they just want to explain why they said what they said. And he was like, I don't need to hear why. This should be an apology. It shouldn't be that. And he was like, no. So he was made, like the manager made him get on a call with the client on the one-on-one. And the client did not apologize one time, but gave an excuse of their micro or whatever you want to call it, straight up racist comment on that call. I don't think he still works for that company, but at that time it was like great salary, great benefit. Like it's one of the things where you're in a position, I don't want to risk it outside of everything else, but maybe, I don't know. I don't want to judge there, but can you imagine being on a call where such comments is made and then you're being asked by your manager, get back on this call to make this client feel better about themselves for being racist?
Right. No, it's crazy. I feel like this is very common though to think about. I haven't experienced it in that sense, but obviously from peers, right? Working with predominantly white people. Oh, can I touch your hair? Or is your hair naturally like that? You know, you always get those little comments and it's like, this is microaggression, right? Like, why am I getting these little comments? And I think back in the day, I used to be okay about it. I didn't know.
Didn't know better. Yeah.
And going back to your first story, I didn't have a voice. Like, I didn't know like what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So, you know, I kind of just left it. But now if I get a comment like that, that is totally inappropriate. No, you can't touch my hair and stop asking questions about my hair, right? Unless it's like an endearing comment, you know? But like, other than that, it shouldn't be a thing, right? I look different, great, but it's not a thing. Don't make it a thing. Yeah. And even your first conversation, your first story, about you taking notes, right? That also is very common, right? Like come into this meeting, but you know, just sit back and just go in the back and like just soak it all up. I think they say, right? Like usually I would also be in rooms like that. Just soak it all up. You know, you don't have to speak. So you're telling me to not speak basically. And it's interesting to be in the rooms, but also it makes you feel like you're not supposed to be there at the table with them, predominantly white, older, even like white women, right? Like it's still as well, like, yeah, amazing that there's women at these tables, but what about like the women of color? You know, where are they at this table and how do they fit in? So I think it's an important thing also to have people like you and I in these rooms, if this ever does occur, and I'm sure it is occurring, if we are more so on my side, if I'm managing someone and they are, you know, being targeted because of the way they look or their sexual orientation or whatever it may be, to make them confident enough to have a voice because you are worthy. You deserve to tell your story. So I think having you and I in rooms is an amazing thing, especially like, there's not enough of us.
It can be very heavy on our shoulders. And so I sympathize if you're listening to Alexa and myself and be like, damn, this is literally me, but I don't have the courage or I don't have my voice. There's so many communities out there in these streets for you, for us. And so even if it's just reaching out to Alexa via LinkedIn and letting her know like your story really made me feel great. And I don't know how to answer. Like, this is why we have these type of podcasts. It's because it's such an important conversation, and it's not just a checkbox or budget that needs to be spent by 2025. It's at the end of the day, it's our, like, this is who we are. It's part of our, like, programmatic is just part of our identity. It's not a whole identity. And so the mistake you make at your job, in your career, whatever, it's just part of this stepping stone that helps you become who you're supposed to become. So like, if you ever need, even if it's just like a sounding, what is it called? Sounding ears or sounding whatever. This is happening right now. Like, English as a second language. Is it sounding whatever?
No, you just want. Let's run with it. Sounding ear.
Sounding ears. So like, if you need that, we're here for it. And also I want to give another shout out to Catherine Holman. She is the founder of our Third Place, which is a global women's membership community. She started the media dinner club, and so she was on the media.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah. And so I just saw her. Honestly, I saw her part of the panel at the Unplugged Collective during Adweek in New York this past week, and she was saying that somebody walked up to her after a panel. It was another woman, and she was like, "Thank you for being so goofy because I am that, and I've been called out on it." And first she said it used to be an insult to her, but now she embraced it because this is who she is. She's always making jokes. She's funny. She's goofy. She's lighthearted. But like many times in conversation with her male counterparts or her bosses, she was told like she's too goofy for this. And so I approached her and I was like, as a Black woman, I was told I was too passionate for an account to literally by other women, which is hurting even more in my opinion. But like, I was too passionate for this account. I was taken off of the account. Or again, I was asked to join the Google Meet and then stay quiet or whatnot, and then ask to give my opinion and whatnot. And so if you are part of this is just a title. It's a projection of their insecurities. They don't know. Again, you're part of the exposure that they need, unfortunately, so that the next person doesn't have to go through, can I touch your hair? Which it happened to me too, by the way. I had box braid in 2018 for my bachelorette. I was like, oh, I'm going to go live my best life. It was super long, hip length and stuff. And I had this older white woman walk up to me and I tried to pull one and I was like, skirt.
That's crazy.
I did the skirt. And there's a lot of weight. So it stood here for a second while I was break my neck over it. But like, I was like, it's not okay to touch my hair. Like,
it's not okay. And there needs to be more conversations around it, that it's not okay to ask questions or ask to touch your hair. Yeah. So I definitely agree with that. And I think it's one of those things too. It's amazing that you said she was too goofy and was told that she was too goofy and couldn't be her authentic self. I think that's one piece of advice to give people, to be their authentic self. I actually did the opposite, where I started in the media space and I looked around me and I saw predominantly white people, right? So maybe I straighten my hair, right? Or I wanted to speak a certain way, or I couldn't like suck my teeth or roll my eyes. I was always like on. So I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. And I was like that for so long, honestly, up until probably a few years ago, where now I am my authentic self. So what if I stutter over a word or say certain slang? I'm still my authentic self. So that would be like my number one advice for someone starting their career, especially a girl that looks like me. Like, be your authentic self. It doesn't matter. Like, your authentic self is enough. That's why you got hired, and continue to, do this journey that you're on, being yourself. Because that's one thing I don't sit and regret about it, but I wish I was more me, because I am goofy, I am lighthearted, and I am all these things. But I think being in corporate and, no one else looking like me, I try to fit this mold of being like someone that I wasn't. But now I'm finally myself. So now we can have these conversations, right? It took me a while.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while too, because I was told I was too loud, too passionate, too aggressive. I mean, all of those I was told. And so for many years, right in the middle of my 10, 15 years working in this industry, I realized like, oh, I had tamed my voice so much that I didn't even feel like doing my work, and I loved what I did. And like it took a lot of like it took some people, and that's why I was referring to my friend who gave me a call and say, when I called her about the meeting, she was like, this is not okay. You shouldn't have, like, he shouldn't have done that to you. Like, you're the expert, you have more experience than him in the meeting. You need people like this that are going to keep cheering you on and be the voice of reason for you. And so I mentioned, okay, so our third place is a good group, but for us women, or who identify as women, we have the Women in Programmatic Network, who originally started in the UK. Now it's everywhere. Shout out to TWIP, if you heard the TWIP term. There's this other group that's called Advanced Women, who are in the Ate God Slack channel. If you haven't heard of them, I strongly recommend you check them out, Advanced Women. And then, since I was just at Adweek again, shout out to the Unplugged Collective. They had a panel, and on the panel there was, the Catherine Pullman, which is the founder of our third place. There was Hollis Guerrera, who was Advanced Women, and then there's another group that's called Ladies Who Strategize. So that was cool too. Shout out to them. I can't remember the name of the founder. I apologize. And she had this dope shirt on too, but I'll Google it and add it in the show notes. And then there was, who else? I feel like there's one more that was on that panel, but on another panel there was Chantel. If you're a programmatic trader or programmatic ninja, here's the truth. Optimizing isn't just about bids and KPIs. The sell side holds the key to effective, efficient, and faster results. That's why me and a special guest are co-hosting a live workshop at the end of October. It's going to be called Sell Side Programmatic Foundation for Traders and Buyers. It's about 60 to 90 minutes. We'll take you under the hood of a publisher ad stack. Then I'll show you exactly how to use this information, this intel, in your day-to-day optimization. You'll understand a publisher's ad stack in plain English, learn why the same impression can arrive through different paths, discover when to choose open exchange, PMP, or even maybe a curated deal. I'll even leave you with some questions that every buyer and trader should ask their supply partner in order to maximize that relationship. This isn't just theory or conception, it's Excel first, as you know, #Excel is bae. Checklist driven, is packed with live hands-on keyboard visualization and example, things that you can use on a day-to-day. If you are interested, be sure to sign up, because early signups are going to have a special view into a micro-learning series on the same topic that is launching in January. So make sure to sign up, and then I'll see you in the workshop. Until something. Anyway, she's the founders of Sisters in Sales. And it just gave me so much joy to just see her. First of all, she's a Black woman. She was dressed like she was, she commanded the room when she walked in, like all of these ladies, honestly. And then she sat down and she gave her speech. She was confident. She was able to talk about her personal experience when one of her family member passed away, and her manager, who was apparently from a different country, had traveled across New York to go attend the funeral and be there for her. And she was like, this is what true leadership is all about. It's like caring. But you don't have to be a manager or like a VP or a director to start caring. Like, if you care for your counterpart and let them know, like, life be lifing, shit's hard, you're okay. Grace over guilt. I got you. Go take not a smoke break, but if this is you, it's you. I love you. But maybe go take a walk, go move your body, hug a baby, talk to your plants. I don't know. So like, have that support system, create it right now. Like, just go and create it. Ask a friend, ask somebody, but find your people and grow with your people. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, exactly. It could be a peer that you're doing this with, caring and being supportive. And like I said, that's why it's important for people like you and I to be in these, because there's not enough women who care. Even what you said about like other women were telling you bad comments. But I think maybe it's their opinion and how they like grew their career, and they were kind of forced to act a certain way because of what was surrounding them, right? I don't think it's intentional, but it's unfortunate that these women were the ones giving you the hate, right? But we have to be empathetic of them, right? What did they go through? Why do they have to go in and, hurt someone else's feelings, right? So you have to be empathetic of that. But I do think like peer on peer is probably the most impactful. It doesn't have to be a boss. It doesn't have to be a manager or a director. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that's why you should definitely consider also mentorship, right? Like I have mentors and I have mentees, and one of them, she's absolutely, she said that I'm her mentor, but I'm pretty sure she's my mentor at this point, because like we've gone back and forth. Like I have therapy session with the girl. We just saw each other last week, and like just knowing her has impacted my life in so many ways, even though at the beginning of this partnership or mentorship, I was the mentor and she was the mentee. But I've learned so much. And I still believe this. I still didn't feel like I learned so much more from her than she did from me, but she doesn't claim that. Anyway, we learn from each other. But like, find that person, find somebody else, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And if somebody is an asshole about that, let them be. They're projecting their own asshole-y selves into you. Okay? Like, throw some shades. If they cannot like deal with your lights, it's on them. It's not on you. Okay. And so I really appreciate you stopping by, Alexa. I think that's such an important question. Thank you for your testimonials. Thank you for sharing your journey, because I mean, that was what, 7, 8, 10 years ago, you said, but we're just now getting comfortable, authentic to be ourselves and to continue. And this is still a work in progress. Like, you don't get to a point where you're like, I'm 100% authentic all day, all night, living my best life. No, it's like you have to continuously, because you're growing, right? So like 5 years ago, I was living my best life, but now I'm a mom of 2. I have a whole sexy husband. I have a whole house. It's like there's different life milestones, and that you have to grow with those milestones and be flexible and continuing learning. And so how about you leave us with a word of wisdom? What is something you wish you knew that could have been super helpful when you first got started in the industry that you didn't know now? I mean, you didn't know then that now you know. And you can't recycle what you said, because you said so many great things, but give us something else.
I would say one quote that I live by, and especially within the work fields, and I wish I would have said it to myself 7 years ago, would be feel the fear and do it anyways.
Ooh, yeah.
Opportunities I didn't take, or I was scared of presenting, because I am very much an introvert. And I think feeling scared for embarrassment, feeling fear to not fit into this mold. But it also goes back to my experience of being a gay woman of color in the industry. I was never able to be my authentic self. Right? I was straightening my hair. I was putting in contacts. I was speaking a certain way. I wasn't acting a certain way. So I think from not being myself, I wasn't able to take that advice. But now here I am, at the peak of my career. I hope it's the peak of my career. And like, I'm continuously growing. And I am very cautious of my fear. When I feel fearful, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyways, And that's now what I live by every day. Like, if I have something that is very nerve-wracking, I'm going to do it. Even for this podcast, let's say, right? I wasn't as nervous as I usually am, but if it did make me nervous, that's even more of myself saying, okay, I'm definitely doing it now because I feel nervous.
Wow. I cannot We cannot end this podcast any better than this. Like, do it scary, do it ugly. Like, I've used that term before. Do it ugly. There's actually a friend of mine that has a whole movement behind do it ugly, because you shouldn't wait until it's perfect. But I often, when hearing you, made me think about what I keep telling my daughter, right? Like, you can have courage and still be scared. Yeah, like, you can do it scared. Just keep doing it scared. You can still have. Never once did anyone told us that you can only feel one thing at a time. It's okay to feel multiple things and like follow your gut, like you said. And if it feels scary, sometimes it's because it's unknown. It's just like, I nobody did it before, so I guess I'm gonna have to do it.
Exactly.
Well, or do it at least for the next person. So, Alexa, thank you so much for stopping by. Is there anyone, I guess, that you want to give a shout out to, a community? How can people stay in touch with you? Like, what can that be?
Yeah, you could find me on LinkedIn. My email address is also on there, Alexa Fulmer. There's so many people to give shout outs to. I don't know if they want their name known, but shout out to the women in Programmatic. I'm so thankful for that group, because if we weren't in that group, I would have not met you. So I'm thankful for this.
Period. And I'm gonna have all of Alexa's information in the show notes or the description of this video, and all of the groups that I mentioned. I'll make sure to also have at least a link so that you guys can sign up. Most of them, all of them, are almost free, at least to be a member. So go on, volunteer, and like just share some love. Like, we need it in these days. So again, Alexa, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much. Nice having me.